The numbers glowed on my phone screen, mocking me. 0, 0, 0. I blinked hard, waiting for the familiar 5-digit sum to reappear, but nothing changed. My surrogacy fund, $40,000 I'd scraped together over 3 years of overtime and consulting gigs, was gone. My name is Whitney, and this was supposed to be my moment. In exactly 4 hours, I had an appointment with Greater Hope Surrogacy Agency, the culmination of countless nights researching clinics and potential donors. Instead, I was sitting in my dark bedroom at 5 a.m, trying not to throw up. I dialed the bank's 24-hour helpline with trembling fingers. After navigating through the automated system, a sleepy-voiced representative named Marcus answered. "I need to report unauthorized activity on my account," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "All my savings are gone." "I see the transaction you're referring to," Marcus said after a few clicks. "It was processed yesterday at 2:15 p.m. The funds were transferred to Maureen Gardner." The room started spinning. "That's my mother." "The transfer appears to have been authorized using your online banking credentials, Mom." I ended the call in a daze. Mom had my password because she'd helped me set up automatic transfers to this account when I first started saving. I'd never changed it. Why would I? She was my mother. I threw on clothes, not caring what matched. The spring morning was still dark as I drove across town to my parents' house, where Mom hosted her famous Sunday brunches. Today was Wednesday, but something told me I'd find answers there. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Scarlett's white Range Rover parked out front. My sister's car, bought with our parents' money like everything else she owned, shouldn't have been there at this hour. Light spilled from the bay windows. I heard laughter inside, the kind of tipsy, carefree giggling that usually accompanied Mom and Scarlett's shopping sprees. I pressed my ear against the door before using my key. "Oh my God, it's perfect!" Scarlett's voice rang out. "Mom, look at the train!" I pushed open the door. The living room had been transformed into a makeshift bridal boutique. A massive white dress dominated the space, its beaded bodice catching the light from Mom's crystal chandelier. Scarlett stood on a footstool, twirling in front of the mirror while Mom dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Empty champagne flutes littered the coffee table. "Whitney!" Mom startled, nearly dropping her glass. "What are you doing here so early?" "The money," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "My savings account." Scarlett's face flushed pink above the white dress. She wouldn't meet my eyes in the mirror. "Oh, honey," Mom sighed, setting down her champagne. "We were going to tell you. Scarlett found her dream dress, but it was way over budget. And then the villa in Bali, well, you know how expensive destination weddings can be. My surrogacy fund." The words came out as a croak. "You took my baby's money for a dress." "Don't be dramatic." Scarlett finally turned to face me. "You weren't even using it yet. And Lane's family expects certain things. You know how important this wedding is." "Important?" I stepped closer, my fingers brushing the expensive lace. "More important than my chance to have a child." "You can always save up again," Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Scarlett needs this now. The wedding's in 6 weeks. You're not even pregnant yet, honey. And at your age..." "My age?" I yanked my hand back like the dress had burned me. "I'm 34, not dead, and that money was mine." "We're family," Scarlett pouted, smoothing the skirt. "Family helps each other. You'll understand someday, when you finally have kids." The champagne bottles, the giggles, the casual theft of my dreams, it all swirled together in my head. 3 years of hope, gone for a dress that probably cost more than my car. I backed away from them both, these strangers wearing my mother and sister's faces. "You're right," I said quietly, reaching for the door. "I do understand now." "Don't be like this," Mom called after me. "Stay for breakfast. We're celebrating." I closed the door on their voices, on the sparkle of beads and bubble of champagne. In my car, I pulled out my phone and Googled "private investigator near me." The first result was for Miller Investigations. My finger hovered over the number as I watched the sun rise over my mother's perfectly manicured lawn. Something inside me had snapped, clean and sharp as a wishbone. They wanted to celebrate. Fine. But first, I had some digging to do. I sat in my best friend Hayley's kitchen, clutching a mug of coffee that had long gone cold. She paced the room, her yoga class forgotten as I recounted the morning's events. They did what? Hayley stopped mid-stride. Tell me again, because I must be having a stroke. Your mother and sister stole your surrogacy fund for a wedding dress. And a villa in Bali, I added, the words tasting bitter. Don't forget the luxury honeymoon. I'm going to kill them! Hayley grabbed her phone. I'm calling the police right now. I caught her wrist. They used my password. Mum helped set up the account, remember? Technically, I gave them access. There's nothing technical about it. It's theft. She slammed her phone down. What about your appointment today? The reminder felt like a punch to the gut. I called and cancelled. Hard to discuss surrogacy options when you can't afford the down payment. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mum. I'd been ignoring them all morning, but this time I opened it. Coming over for dinner tonight? We need to talk about your attitude. 6 p.m. sharp. Hayley read over my shoulder and snorted. Your attitude? The nerve of that woman. I have to go, I said. If I don't, she'll just show up at my apartment. Then I'm coming with you. I shook my head. I need to handle this myself. The drive to my parents' house felt longer than usual. When I arrived, Scarlett's Range Rover was there again. Of course it was. Mum opened the door before I could knock. Finally! I was starting to worry. She tried to hug me, but I stepped past her into the house. Scarlett sat at the dining room table, scrolling through her phone. She barely looked up as I entered. Sit down, honey. Mum gestured to a chair. I made your favourite, chicken marsala. I'm not hungry. Whitney, Mum's voice took on that familiar patronising tone. You're being childish about this whole thing. We're family. Money is just money. Just money? I laughed. But there was no humour in it. That was 3 years of my life. 3 years of overtime and missed vacations and cheap groceries. That was my chance to be a mother. You can save up again. Scarlett finally looked up from her phone. It's not like you're getting any younger anyway. Maybe this is a sign you should try dating instead of this whole single mom thing. The room went silent. Even Mom looked shocked at that one. Scarlett, she warned, but the damage was done. A sign? My voice was barely above a whisper. Like how 4 failed IVF treatments were a sign? Like how every negative pregnancy test was a sign? That's not what she meant, Mum jumped in. We just want you to be happy. Happy. I pulled out my phone and opened my photos. Let me show you happy. I found the picture I'd taken of my savings account balance yesterday morning. See this number. This was my happiness. This was my future. Lane's family expects a certain standard, Scarlett whined. The dress I wanted was $18,000, and the villa... I don't care! I slammed my hand on the table, making them both jump. I don't care about Lane's family, or your dress, or your Instagram perfect wedding. That was my money. Enough! Mum stood up. What's done is done. The dress is paid for. The villa is booked. Your sister is getting married in 6 weeks, and you will put on a happy face and be there for her. That's what family does. I stood up slowly, suddenly calm. You're right, Mom. That is what family does. They both looked relieved, but I wasn't finished. Family also tells the truth. Family respects boundaries. Family doesn't steal dreams. I walked to the door, then turned back. So I guess we're not really family anymore, are we? Whitney, wait! Mum called after me, but I was already gone. In my car, I pulled out the business card I picked up earlier. Miller Investigations. My hands shook as I dialed the number. A gruff voice answered on the second ring. Hector Miller speaking. My name is Whitney. I need your help investigating someone. Actually, several someones. What kind of information are you looking for? I thought about Scarlett's designer clothes, Lane's flashy car, the endless stream of luxury purchases that never seem to match their actual incomes. Everything, I said firmly. Their debts, their secrets, everything they're hiding. Can you help me? There was a pause, then, I can start tomorrow, but are you sure you want to open this door? Family secrets tend to get messy. I thought about my empty savings account, about 3 years of hope drained away for a white dress and a villa in Bali. I'm sure, I said. It's already messy. Now I just want the truth. Hector's office smelled like coffee and old paper. He spread documents across his desk while I leaned forward, scanning each page with growing disbelief. Your sister's fiancé has been busy, he said, tapping a stack of credit reports. Lane has 5 maxed out credit cards under his own name, plus 2 more under Lawrence Newman. Same social security number, different spelling. How much? Total debt's pushing 90,000. And that's not counting the business loans, I frowned. What business loans? Hector pulled out another folder. In the past 3 years, he's started 4 different companies, tech startups mostly. Each one collected investor money from friends and family, then mysteriously folded within months. Scams? Let's call them failed ventures for now, he smiled grimly. But yes, essentially scams. My phone buzzed. Another text from Scarlett. Bridesmaid dress fitting tomorrow. Don't be late this time. I ignored it and pointed to the next file. What about Scarlett? Your sister maxed out her own cards before touching your money. She's been floating checks between 3 different accounts. He paused. There's something else you should see. He pulled up a web page showing court records. Lane was evicted from his last apartment. Thing is, he used yet another name variation, Lane Newman Phillips. The landlord's statement mentions extensive property damage and unpaid rent. Does Scarlett know any of this? Hard to say, but someone's been helping them cover it up. Hector slid another document across the desk. This loan application was co-signed 2 weeks ago. Look at the signature. My heart sank as I recognised my father's handwriting. That evening, I drove to my parents' house again, this time catching Dad alone in his garage workshop. He was sanding a piece of wood, probably for one of his endless home improvement projects. Whitney? He looked surprised to see me. Your mother's at her book club. No, I know. I needed to talk to you alone. I held up the loan document. Want to explain this? The sandpaper stilled in his hand. Where did you get that? Does it matter? You co-signed a $50,000 loan for Scarlett and Lane after they stole my money. Dad set down his tools and sank onto his workbench. They said it was for the wedding, that they were short on deposits. And you believed them? Did you even check Lane's background? Your mother said, Mom says a lot of things, Dad, but you're supposed to protect us. Both of us, not just Scarlett. He looked down at his sawdust-covered hands. I know I've let you down. It's just, your mother gets these ideas in her head, and Scarlett knows how to work her up. And it's easier to just go along with it, I finished. Like you went along with them taking my savings? I didn't know about that until after, he said quietly. I should have said something, done something. But you didn't, and now you're on the hook for 50 grand when it all falls apart? His head snapped up. What do you mean? I told him everything Hector had found, the credit cards, the failed businesses, the eviction. With each revelation, Dad seemed to age another year. There's more coming, I said. Hector's still digging, but you needed to know what you've signed up for. Your mother can't handle this kind of scandal. The wedding's in 6 weeks. Everyone we know will be there. Everyone you know will find out eventually. The question is whether you want to be seen as another victim or another enabler. My phone buzzed again, this time a message from Hector. Found something big. Lane's ex came forward. Call me ASAP. I have to go, I told Dad. But think about what I said, and maybe check your credit report. He caught my arm as I turned to leave. Whitney, wait, He reached for his wallet and pulled out a check. It's not much, just 10,000, from my personal savings. I stared at the check. Dad, it won't replace what they took, but it's a start. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Part of me wanted to tear up the check, to reject this small gesture of redemption, but another part saw what it really was. The first crack in the family's perfect facade. Thanks, Dad. I tucked the check into my pocket. But you might want to save it. Something tells me you're going to need it soon. As I drove to meet Hector, I thought about Dad's tired eyes and trembling hands. I should have felt guilty about what was coming, about the bomb I was about to drop on my family's carefully constructed illusions. Instead, I felt something else, anticipation. The truth was finally coming to light, and I wasn't about to stop it now. I scrolled through Scarlett's Instagram feed, noting every tagged vendor and sponsored post. Something wasn't adding up. Look at this. I showed my phone to Hayley during our lunch break. She tagged luxury Bali villas in 6 different posts claiming they're sponsoring her honeymoon. Hayley squinted at the screen. But you said they used your money for the villa. Exactly. I opened my laptop, pulling up the emails Hector had recovered. According to their booking confirmation, they paid full price. No sponsorship, no discount. So she's lying about the sponsorships? All of them? I clicked through more documents. The dress boutique, the florist, the cake designer, they're all regular bookings at full price. She's creating fake partnerships to make it look like she's not spending as much as she is. My phone buzzed with a reminder. Bridal brunch at the country club in an hour. I've been dreading it all week. You don't have to go, Hayley said, reading my expression. Yes, I do. Because Lane's best man Tyrese will be there, and Hector says he knows things. The country club's terrace was decorated in pink and white, with mimosas flowing freely. Scarlett held court at the centre table, showing off her enormous engagement ring to anyone who'd look. I grabbed a mimosa and found a quiet corner, watching. Lane's best man Tyrese was already 3 drinks in, laughing too loudly at everything. Whitney, Scarlett waved me over. Come see the wedding favour samples. I plastered on a smile and joined the group. Scarlett was passing around tiny boxes of imported chocolates. These are being flown in from Switzerland, she gushed. The hotel's pastry chef is personally overseeing everything. Hotel? Tyrese snorted into his drink. Thought you guys booked that fancy villa thing? Scarlett's smile flickered. We're doing both, silly. The villa's for after. Right. Tyrese nodded, spilling his mimosa slightly. The one Lane convinced your parents to spring for instead of the nursery. The table went quiet. Scarlett's face drained of colour. What nursery? I asked carefully. Oh, man! Tyrese laughed, oblivious to the tension. Your parents were going to convert their guest room for future grandkids or whatever, but Lane said the villa was more important. Said they could always do the nursery later. Smart guy, always thinking ahead. Scarlett kicked him under the table, but the damage was done. I felt sick, remembering how Mum had dismissed my surrogacy plans. They'd stolen my baby fund for a villa, while simultaneously cancelling plans for their own grandchild's nursery. My phone vibrated. Another message from Hector. Found doctored receipts. Your mother's signature on all of them. Call me. I excused myself to the bathroom, hands shaking as I dialed Hector's number. What receipts? Bank statements, vendor contracts, loan applications, Hector replied. They've been systematically altering documents to hide the real costs. Your mother's been signing off on everything. Send me everything you have, I said. And Hector, I need one more favour. The rehearsal dinner next week. Can you be there? You sure you want to do this publicly? I watched through the bathroom window as Scarlett posed for selfies with her bridesmaids, her smile perfect and practised. They took everything from me publicly, I said. Seems only fair to return the favour. Back at the brunch, I started dropping subtle hints. When Scarlett mentioned the villa again, I asked innocently about the sponsorship she'd posted about. When she talked about Lane's latest business venture, I wondered aloud about his previous companies. Each question made her more nervous, her hands fidgeting with her napkin, her eyes darting to her phone. As I left, I heard her frantically whispering to Mom on the phone. She knows something. She keeps asking questions. Let her ask. Mom's dismissive voice carried through the speaker. What can she possibly do? I smiled to myself as I walked to my car. They had no idea what was coming. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by Hector's files. Doctored receipts, hidden bank statements, loan applications with inflated income numbers, all signed by my mother. The perfect paper trail of their deception. My phone lit up with a text from Scarlett. Final rehearsal dinner schedule. Don't forget your speech as maid of honour. I looked at the stack of evidence, then back at her message. The rehearsal dinner would be the last time everyone gathered before the wedding. All the important players in one room, family, friends, Lane's parents, even their business associates, the perfect audience for the truth. I began drafting my speech, a cold smile playing on my lips. They wanted a maid of honour speech. I'd give them one they'd never forget. I arrived at the rehearsal dinner 15 minutes late, wearing a red dress that stood out sharply against the pastel colour scheme Scarlett had insisted everyone follow. Heads turned as I walked into the private dining room of the upscale restaurant. Whitney! Mom hissed, hurrying over. Where have you been, and what are you wearing? Sorry, I smiled sweetly. Red's my colour. Brings out my eyes, don't you think? Before she could respond, I spotted Hector settling inconspicuously at the bar, dressed as any other guest in a dark suit. He gave me a subtle nod. Scarlett was at the head table, looking tense despite her perfect makeup. Lane sat beside her, scrolling through his phone, barely acknowledging the guests coming to congratulate them. There's my favourite sister-in-law. Lane finally looked up as I approached. His charm felt oily, practiced. Saved the best speech for last, right? Oh, I've got something special planned, I assured him, watching his smile falter slightly. The evening progressed with mechanical precision. Scarlett had orchestrated every detail, from the timing of the courses to the order of the speeches. I watched her grow increasingly agitated as each moment passed, her eyes darting to me whenever someone mentioned money or the upcoming honeymoon. During the main course, I overheard Lane arguing with Scarlett in harsh whispers. You said your parents were handling the catering deposit, he snapped. They are, she whispered back. Mum's taking care of it. Like they took care of the villa payment, the one that bounced yesterday. I pretended to be fascinated by my salmon while straining to hear more, but they noticed me and went quiet. Mum clinked her glass, starting the speeches. Various family members and friends stood up, sharing polished anecdotes about the perfect couple. Dad's speech was notably brief, his hands shaking as he held his notes. My phone buzzed under the table. A text from Hector. Lane's ex Krista just arrived. She's waiting outside. Want to talk to her before your speech? I excused myself to use the restroom, slipping out the side door instead. A woman in her early 30s stood there, nervously checking her watch. Are you Whitney? She asked. I nodded. I brought what you asked for. She pulled out an envelope. Bank statements, texts, everything from when Lane and I were together. He did the same thing to me, convinced my parents to invest in his fake startups, maxed out joint credit cards, then vanished. And no one pressed charges. He's good at making you feel crazy, she smiled sadly. Makes you doubt yourself, wonder if you're overreacting. By the time I figured it out, he was already gone. Did he have help? Someone covering for him? His friend Tyrese handled the paperwork, made everything look legitimate. She glanced at her phone. I should go. But Whitney, make it count. I returned to find Mom preparing to introduce me. The envelope from Krista felt heavy in my clutch. And now, Mom beamed at the crowd, my beautiful daughter Whitney would like to say a few words about her sister and future brother-in-law. I stood slowly, aware of every eye in the room. Scarlett's smile looked frozen, brittle. Lane had finally put his phone down. When Mom asked me to give a speech tonight, I began, I thought about all the stories I could tell. About growing up with Scarlett, about watching her relationship with Lane blossom on Instagram, about family and trust and truth. Scattered chuckles from the crowd. Mom's smile started to slip. But instead of telling stories, I continued, I thought I'd talk about numbers. Scarlett's champagne glass crashed to the floor. The room went silent. $40,000, for example. The exact amount that disappeared from my surrogacy fund to pay for a wedding dress and villa. I looked directly at Lane. Or $90,000, the current balance of your hidden credit cards. Or should we discuss the 4 failed businesses and their mysterious missing investors? Whitney, Mum stood up. That's enough. No, Mum, it's not. Because I have one more number to share. I pulled out my phone, pulling up the doctored receipts. Would anyone like to guess how many fraudulent documents you've signed in the last month alone? The room erupted in whispers. Lane's parents were conferring urgently with each other. Tyrese had gone pale, edging toward the door. You're ruining everything! Scarlett shrieked, mascara starting to run. No, sister dear, I said calmly. You did that all on your own. My phone buzzed one final time. Another message from Hector. Police just arrived. Ready when you are. I smiled at the chaos unfolding before me. And now, I have a few things the bride and groom forgot to mention. Let's start with the villa in Bali, I continued, my voice steady despite the chaos erupting around me. The one Scarlett claimed was sponsored. Here's the actual payment receipt, made with my stolen money. Lane's father stood up. What exactly are you implying? I'm not implying anything, I pulled out Hector's files. I'm stating facts. Your son has been running investment scams for years. Would anyone like to see the proof? This is ridiculous! Lane slammed his hand on the table. Scarlett, tell her to stop! But Scarlett was staring at her phone, where Krista had just started posting their old text exchanges on social media. Lane, she whispered. Who's Krista? Nobody, he snapped, but his face had gone white. Actually, I smiled, Krista's right outside. She brought some interesting bank statements. Should I invite her in? You vindictive bitch, Lane snarled, standing up so quickly his chair toppled. You're just jealous because your sister has everything you couldn't have. The room went deadly quiet. Mom covered her mouth in horror. Everything I couldn't have? I laughed, but there was no humour in it. You mean the $40,000 that was supposed to give me a chance at motherhood? The money you and Scarlett stole for your Instagram perfect wedding? We didn't steal anything, Scarlett shrieked. Mom said we could have it. About that, I turned to face the crowd. I have some interesting documents showing exactly how Mom helped cover up their spending. Doctored receipts, altered bank statements, all with her signature. Mom's face crumpled. I was trying to help. Help who, Mom? Help Scarlett destroy someone else's life? Help Lane scam more people? That's enough. Lane moved toward me, but Hector stepped between us. I wouldn't, he said quietly, showing his investigator's badge. The police are already here. They're very interested in those investment schemes of yours. Lane's father stood up again. What investment schemes? Show them. I nodded to Hector, who started distributing copies of Lane's business records. 4 fake startups in 3 years, Hector explained. Each one collected investor money, then mysteriously folded. The funds were transferred to offshore accounts. Son? Lane's mother's voice shook. Is this true? Lane backed toward the door. It's all lies. Scarlett, tell them. But Scarlett was still scrolling through Krista's posts, tears streaming down her face. You said I was the only one. You said the business failures weren't your fault. Oh, honey, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. He said the same things to Krista, right before he drained her accounts and disappeared. I can explain everything. Lane's eyes darted around the room, looking for escape routes. Explain it to the police. Hector nodded toward the doorway, where 2 officers had just entered. What happened next felt like slow motion. Lane shoved past a waiter, sending a tray of drinks crashing. He sprinted for the kitchen exit as the officers gave chase. Scarlett collapsed into her chair, sobbing. Mum tried to approach me, but Dad held her back. Whitney, he said softly, you should have told me. Like you told me about co-signing their loan? I shook my head. We're past secrets now, Dad. The officers returned with Lane in handcuffs. As they led him past me, he spat. You'll regret this. No, I said calmly. I really won't. Scarlett suddenly stood up, mascara streaking down her cheeks. What about the wedding? What about my perfect day? Your perfect day? I turned to her. Was it worth it? Stealing my chance to be a mother for your fantasy wedding to a con man? I didn't know, she stammered. Yes, you did. You just didn't care. I gathered my things, ready to leave. By the way, that dress you bought with my money? The police will probably want that too. Evidence of fraud and all that. Mom finally broke free from Dad's grip. Please, Whitney, we can fix this. Fix what, Mom? My empty savings account? My lost time? My trust in my family? I looked around the stunned room. Some things can't be fixed. Sometimes they just need to be exposed. As I walked toward the door, Hector fell into step beside me. You okay? I thought about the long road ahead, the police statements, the family fallout, the slow process of rebuilding my savings. But I also thought about the truth finally being out there, about justice being served. Yeah, I said, surprising myself by meaning it. I really am. Behind us, I could hear Mom crying, Scarlett arguing with the police, Lane's parents demanding answers. But for the first time in weeks, I felt at peace. The truth had finally set me free. The aftermath unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. I stood near the exit, watching it all unfold with a strange sense of detachment. The deposits, Lane's father was saying, waving bank statements in the air. The business investments, where did the money go? Offshore accounts, one of the officers explained. We've been tracking similar schemes across 3 states. Tyrese tried to slip out behind a potted plant, but Hector caught his arm. Going somewhere? The police have some questions about those paperwork transfers you handled. Mum had sunk into a chair, her perfectly styled hair coming undone as she pressed her hands to her face. Dad stood beside her, looking older than I'd ever seen him. I trusted you! Scarlett screamed at Lane as the officers prepared to take him away. We were supposed to get married in 6 weeks. Baby, please. Lane tried to reach for her despite the handcuffs. I can explain everything. Just get your parents to post bail. Their money's gone too, I cut in. Those loans Dad co-signed. The wedding deposits Mom's been covering. It's all gone, isn't it, Lane? His face twisted. You smug bitch. You think you're so clever? Enough. The officer tightened his grip. Let's go. As they led Lane away, Scarlett suddenly turned on me. This is all your fault. If you hadn't been so selfish about your stupid baby fund... My stupid baby fund? The words hit like physical blows. That money was my future, my chance at having a child. But you couldn't stand someone else being the centre of attention, could you? Girls, please. Mum stood up shakily. We can work this out as a family. Family? I laughed bitterly. Was it family when you helped them steal my money? When you covered up their fraud? When you chose Scarlett's wedding over your own grandchild? I never meant... Yes, you did. I pulled out one last document, a bank statement showing the original transfer. You knew exactly what you were doing. You just didn't think I'd fight back. Scarlett swayed on her feet, her designer dress suddenly looking costume-like in the harsh restaurant lighting. I don't feel well. The villa deposit bounced, one of Lane's relatives announced, reading from their phone. The wedding venue too. Everything's gone. That was when Scarlett fainted. She crumpled to the floor in a heap of white lace and tulle, her perfect world finally shattering around her. As people rushed to help her, Mum tried one last time. Whitney, please. She's still your sister. No, I said quietly. She stopped being my sister the moment she decided her wedding was worth more than my dreams. I turned to face her fully. And you stopped being my mother when you helped her do it. The room fell silent except for Scarlett's soft moans as she came to. Dad stepped forward, his voice rough with emotion. I knew, he admitted. I knew something wasn't right, but I stayed quiet. I failed you, Whitney. I failed both my daughters. The difference is, I looked at Scarlett, now sitting up and crying mascara-stained tears. One daughter chose to be cruel. The other just chose to stop being a victim. Hector touched my arm gently. The police need statements from everyone. You should probably go first. I nodded, but before I left, I had one last thing to say. I walked over to where Mum stood, still trying to maintain her composure despite everything crumbling around her. This was my baby's future, I said, my voice breaking slightly. And you gave it away like it meant nothing, like I meant nothing. Whitney! No, Mom, I'm done. I'm done pretending this family is anything but toxic. I'm done watching Scarlett destroy everything she touches while you clean up her messes. I'm done being the responsible one who gets punished for it. Scarlett's sobs echoed through the room. The wedding guests had begun to leave, whispering among themselves. Lane's parents were huddled with their lawyer in the corner. The perfect evening had dissolved into chaos and police statements. As I walked toward the officers waiting to take my statement, I heard Mum call out one last time. What about forgiveness? Her voice cracked. Isn't that what family does? I turned back one final time, seeing them all clearly for the first time. Mum's manipulation, Scarlett's selfishness, Dad's weakness. The perfect family facade had finally shattered, revealing the rot beneath. Some things don't deserve forgiveness, I said simply. Some things just deserve justice. And with that, I walked away from my family, leaving behind the broken pieces of their perfect illusion. Behind me, I could hear Scarlett's hysteria rising again, Mum's attempts to control the situation failing, Dad's quiet resignation. But for the first time in my life, their drama wasn't my problem anymore. I was free. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Greater Hope Surrogacy Agency as I sat in the familiar waiting room. My hands didn't shake this time as I filled out the paperwork. Whitney! Dr. Martinez called me into her office, smiling warmly. Welcome back. On her desk sat a stack of newspapers. The top one featured Lane's arrest photo and the headline, Wedding Bell Blues, Local Businessman Arrested in Investment Scam. I saw the news, she said, setting the papers aside. Are you sure you're ready to start this process again? More ready than ever. I handed her my new bank statement. Between Dad's cheque, my savings from the past few weeks, and the court-ordered restitution from Lane's frozen accounts, I was almost back to my original amount. My phone buzzed. Another missed call from Mom. I declined it without hesitation. Your support system is important during surrogacy, Dr. Martinez said gently. Family usually plays a big role. I have family, I smiled, thinking of Haley, who'd insisted on driving me today and was waiting outside. Just not the ones I was born to. A knock at the door interrupted us. Hector stepped in, looking oddly nervous without his usual investigator demeanour. "Sorry I'm late," he said, taking the seat beside me. "Traffic was terrible." Dr. Martinez raised an eyebrow. "And you are?" "He's with me," I said firmly. Over the weeks of building the case against Lane, Hector had become more than just an investigator. He'd become someone I trusted, someone who saw my strength instead of my struggles. "Well then," Dr. Martinez smiled, pulling out more forms. "Let's talk about next steps." As she explained the process, my phone lit up with a text from Dad. "Scarlett moved back home. Mum's not handling it well. I've moved into the guest room. I understand if you don't want to respond, but I'm proud of you." I typed back a simple "thank you" before turning off my phone. "The initial matching process takes about 3 months, Dr. Martinez was saying. Then we'll... Another knock interrupted us. This time it was Hayley, her face flushed with excitement. "Sorry to interrupt, but Whitney needs to see this." She thrust her phone at me. On the screen was Scarlett's Instagram page, or what was left of it. Every perfectly curated post about the wedding had been deleted. In their place was a single new post. "To everyone I've hurt, especially my sister. I'm sorry. I'm getting help. The person I became wasn't who I want to be." "She's in therapy," Hayley explained. "Real therapy, not just Mom's let's pretend everything's fine approach." I handed the phone back without commenting. Maybe someday Scarlett's apology would mean something. Maybe someday we'd find a way to be sisters again, but today wasn't about her. "Now," Dr. Martinez continued, "let's discuss your timeline and expectations." As she talked, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Not the desperate, clinging hope I'd held on to while watching my savings grow. Not the bitter hope I'd nursed while planning my revenge. This was different. Cleaner. Stronger. After the appointment, Hector, Hayley and I stood in the parking lot. The summer air was thick with possibility. "Dinner?" Hector suggested. "We should celebrate." "Actually," I said, "there's somewhere I need to go first." They followed me to the local garden centre. I bought a small potted tree, a Japanese maple with delicate red leaves. "What's that for?" Hayley asked. "New beginnings," I said simply. "Will you help me plant it?" We drove to my apartment, where the small backyard had just enough space. As we dug the hole and settled the tree's roots into the earth, I thought about growth, about how something beautiful can rise from broken ground. "You know," Hector said, patting soil around the base, "these trees can live for hundreds of years." "Good," I smiled, touching one of the delicate leaves. "I want my child to watch it grow." Hayley wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "They will." My phone buzzed one final time, a text from an unknown number. Krista. "Lane took a plea deal. No trial needed. Thought you'd want to know." I deleted the message without responding. Lane's fate didn't matter anymore. Neither did Mom's daily calls or Scarlett's Instagram apology. What mattered was this moment. My hands in the dirt, my friends beside me, my future finally my own. "Now!" I stood up, brushing soil from my knees. "About that dinner?" The setting sun painted the maple's leaves deep crimson as we walked away. Behind us, the small tree stood straight and strong, its roots already reaching deep into the earth, ready to grow toward whatever came next.